All right, welcome to the home screen for the XA30 software. As you can see, we have 4 different applications here. First is the system check, which gives us the status of important system components. The Cockpit houses all of the MRI protocols. This is pretty much identical to the VE11C version. The examination application is where we're actually going to be operating the scanner. And then there's this lock button option. For our purposes, we're not really going to be using this very much, but I'll go into the other options in detail in later videos. All right, so we'll start with system check. So go and click in. This little pop-up is just stating that the admin portal has already been opened. So first, there are 3 tabs up at the top here. There's technical configuration, quality assurance, and clinical configuration. The QA tab is where we'll be running the daily stability check. We'll go through a more in-depth video on that later. There are all of these different reports for different system components. They're all green at the moment, stating that everything is within spec. And then there are these options up at the top here, home, which will get you back to the home of the administration system check portal. Service reports, if you want to see previous QAs that have been run, and then there's a message viewer if you want to see archived messages within the system or with the service team. All right, so Cockpit. Go and click in. As you can see, it's pretty much identical to the VE11C version, which is nice. So we open up the user protocol tree. We can see everything has been loaded in pretty much identically to the older version. It's in alphabetical order. It has the same exact functionality, so you can click into a PI or project directory, and you can see the different protocol names and versions. All right. In the Cockpit, if we wanted to edit our protocol, again, pretty much the same process as last time. So we click into a project, we click on our little edit program key, and we are put into that protocol. As you can see, the path at the very top, right? User, Jared, seek testing, SMS. We double click on a protocol and we see that the parameter cards come up. They're all there at the top, just like previous versions. So we can click on one and select a parameter that we'd like to adjust. Of course, we would make a change, we click OK. And then if we did make a change, we would want to save our protocol, save program, or save as a different under a different name. And then once we're finished, we can go back to the save and go back to the browser. All right, so if we want to export files, it happens pretty much the same exact way as the older version, the VE11C version. So we go and click into a PI, and we click on a protocol that we want. We right-click, and it looks a little bit different because of the newer software. So we click print for a PDF. We can see that it gives us options to select our output location. So again, you click on your flash drive, which usually now shows up as an E drive. We click save if we want. Another option, just like in the old software version, is to export as an XR1. And so we right-click export to file, and the default option is an XR1. We can again click on the output directory that we want to save it to, and rename the file if you want, and then save it to that directory. Okay, let's go ahead and make our way into the examination application. So this is where we're going to be operating the scanner. And so let's get started. But first, actually, before we go into that, let's chat really quickly about some of these icons here at the bottom of the window. A lot of these are similar to what you'll find in the VE11C system. So first we have a little pie chart with disk space. So the more green you see in this pie chart, the more data on the hard drive. This green bar, or this little green line, this is the server load. So our understanding of this is how hard the system, the computer is working, the actual tower. And apologies, let's go back. And what we notice is when we're scanning really large amounts of data, right? When we're collecting a large amount of data, the computer's working pretty hard. We have other applications open. This can increase quite quickly to a point where the system performance goes down. So just pay attention to this because it will turn yellow and red if the computer is doing too many tasks at once, let's say. This little head and waveform icon is the MR scanner and acquisition window, and this will give us some examples of information about whether the system is ready, if there are errors, if there are warnings, and so seeing these little blue informational messages, those are just kind of messages from the scanner and the acquisition system. If we see a message with a yellow symbol with an exclamation point, that's typically a soft warning. Again, just something to be aware of. If it's a message that has a white X with a red box or a red circle around it, then that is typically an error of some kind. That will most likely mean that we'll need to do a reboot or figure out a workaround for you to be able to continue on with your scan. So please pay attention to those and relay any messages to me when you find them. This little reconstruction icon down here at the bottom will take you to the reconstruction page, and this will get us to the same place as the briefcase, which is located in the top of the window. That's this on the right hand side. It's the same menu that you see from the home page. There's a briefcase that is titled Job View, and so if we click on this reconstruction head right here, it'll take us to the reconstruction view, and this just gives you a detailed view of the data that's being reconstructed in the measurement and reconstruction system. This page is actually useful because we can also see like network traffic. If we click on network, obviously no data is being sent right now, but this will show jobs queued for network transfer and offline media transfer as well. So like if you were exporting data onto a hard drive or something like that, you could see it all from this job view application. We can close out and head back to the examination page. So when we actually want to get going with our scan, we're going to click register patient up here. And this will bring up our patient registration window. And this should look quite familiar from the VE11C version. And so we can start filling in information, right? We have a bunch of terms here. There are some that have these kind of orange-yellow bars next to them. Those are all the required fields that we need to fill in. So one thing to pay attention to is that there isn't one of these next to patient ID. So you're tabbing through, you'll get this auto configuration of like letters and numbers. We want to make sure that we keep this the same as the last name field because patient ID is what we find on the DICOM server. So we want to make sure we don't just tab through this, that we put something meaningful so that we can find our data successfully. Of course, we can put age. I'm scanning a phantom, so I'm going to put other, but sex, we want biological or sex assigned at birth. Height and weight. And then so just as an example, if I tried to click exam here, there are two more fields that are required that I haven't filled out, and those will be highlighted in yellow. So it won't let you continue until you fill out everything. Now, a couple others that are important but not really required by the system is operator, right? We still want to make sure we're inputting the initials of everyone who's involved in the scan, and then referring physician. This has the exact same function as the old registration window, where this was going to be where your data is stored on DICOM. So we want to make sure that because this system is brand new, it doesn't auto-populate all of the DICOM server directories yet. So you'll have to type in, when you scan your very first scan on the system, you'll have to type in the exact DICOM path where your data is going to go. And then from then on, it will auto-populate. I'm going to put nothing, and because it's going to go to the unknown folder. No one really wants this test data. So after I put in, well, first I'm gonna select my protocol. So I'm gonna go to this protocol selection. These are the kind of 10 most recent or 10 most used protocols. I'm going to click on Other Examination to choose something different. We're going to just show you where the protocol tree is. So here's our program selection, and we can, again, similar, pretty much the same as the last software. We can go around and take a look at what protocol we want to run. I'll pick something straightforward. So we'll do this protocol here. Body part and laterality has already been selected. If it wasn't selected, for example, if it was, let me go back to something else. If it wasn't selected, maybe here. Oh, all right, well, I guess they're all selected. But if it's not selected, it won't let you continue, and you have to make sure you select brain. If it gives you the second option here, and it says unselected, you want to make sure you select brain. So lastly, we want to make sure we select the correct orientation, so head first supine. And once we have all of the fields, we can click exam. And now this brings us to our examination application window. This is where we're gonna operate the scanner. Again, this should look pretty similar to the previous software. Before we get going, a couple items down here at the bottom that I'd like to talk about. One is the in-room settings. So these all used to be on the side of the applications window, but in-room settings. So these are all of the settings in the that you can set inside the room. You can't do this while the scan is going on, right? But you can change ventilation or lights, speaker volume, and things like that. No need to worry about exam settings. Physio display, if you're gonna be collecting pulse or respiration, you can see the signals coming through here. Inline display is pretty much the same as the old software version. The only difference is it's just in this little panel down here instead of coming up as a big pop-up that you can resize. And then lastly, if you need to make any changes to your protocol, or you just want to browse protocols while your scan is going on, you can do that. You can click on the .cockpit icon there, and then you can take a look at the full protocol tree. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll start our scan. So when we want to begin scan from scratch, we click on continue, right, which will start the first scan in the queue. And again, this is all on par with the previous system. The only difference really is that some of the color schemes are different. So this continue button used to be green, now it's orange. All right, the same exam paused that we used to have. Again, it just kind of looks a little bit new, a little bit updated. So we'll go and continue, and then our scan will start. All right, this is something that pops up for some of these T1 weighted and T2 weighted images. You can go ahead and click manual for this. Now we haven't set the field of view for the T1 weighted image yet, so we're waiting until the head scout pops up. So here we have the T1 weighted image, right? The head scout has fit into all of the segments. Again, this is all of the same, right? So sagittal, coronal, and axial views. When we want to set the field of view, we want to apply the field of view, we no longer have the green check, we have this orange go button. So when we're ready to start the MP range, we can go ahead and click on go to set the field of view. T1 MP range will start running. And as soon as it begins, it will open up the next sequence in the queue, which will be the Spinnacle field map. While this is preparing, one other thing to point out down here at the bottom of the screen, this will give you, so this is the simulation threshold warning. This is very common for high resolution images like T1, T2, and other sequences that have really strong gradient performance like diffusion and things like that. So this is normal, we can click OK. And we'll click continue and our T1 will start. As you can see, the SAR and the stimulation warning bars are down here, the measurement bars. We've noticed that the stimulation measurement is quite often yellow. So you can see though that its predicted value is quite high, but its measured value is quite low. So again, this is just saying that there's a there's a high chance that the stimulation there's a high chance for high stimulation, but it's not quite reaching the predicted values. Okay, so we have the scan time down here, just like we usually do. Here is a message history icon, very left one. And so this is kind of replacing that ticker that was down at the bottom of the screen. So again, it'll give you these messages. Like for example, we just had the stimulation threshold exceeded warning. So you can see that this is the red X, but this won't keep you from scanning. So as you can see on the top of the examination screen, we have a toolbar as well with some menu choices. So here on the right, this is the same exact set of tools you'll have on the home screen. We have the screen recorder, which is what I'm using to record this video. The briefcase, which is the job view window pop-up application. This is the configuration panel, which I touched on, I think, previously. And expert eye and help we don't really need to pay too much attention to. Up here on the left, this is the home button. On the so this will actually take us back to the home screen if we click on it, even if the scan is running. And then we have the patient browser, and then we're in the examination application. But this is the patient browser, and we'll chat about the patient browser shortly. The other thing to notice is that the exam workflow is actually in this tab up here. So here's MR View and Go. You can't really see it from this view, but if I click on it, it opens up the viewing application, and you can notice now that the examination application is kind of grayed out. If we click back to the exam tab, you can see that the time is counting down. So this is your current scan, which is still actively scanning. All right, so now we're back scanning with the exam workflow, and as you can see, we currently have the bold. We did the T1, the spin echo field maps, and now we have a bold scan here. A lot of the features, again, from the old exam tab still hold true. So for example, if you want to redo a scan or you want another copy of a scan, you can click and drag down to the bottom. Similarly with the bold, you can do that as well. Double click to open, and we can reapply. Right? If you want to cancel out of a prescription, you can click cancel. If you want to delete a scan or a set of scans, you can click on them, right click and hit delete. Okay. So those are all standard features, just like from the V11C software. Similarly, we have this add program feature where if we click on this plus sign, we can the protocol tree can open up, and we can say, oh yeah, I actually forgot we need to do this single voxel spectroscopy scan, so we can drag it in. If you want every sequence in a set protocol, you can click on the protocol and then click on this arrow, and it will bring in everything from that protocol. You can close it out by clicking on this X button here. Now I'm going to delete all of these because we don't want them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click over to the MR View and Go. Now, from the previous video, you'll have seen that there was the open participant that was still scanning, and then the MR View and Go tab. So an MR View and Go tab will open up automatically once a participant is registered in the system, so data can continue to stream in to the View and Go tab as the data is being collected. Right. So I'll click over to the View and Go tab. So now we can see the View and Go application, and this is kind of taken over from the viewing tab of the previous system. And so here we have some graphical segments that show various different scans and data. Over here on the right is the current participant open, right? So this gives us the date and also the protocol that we selected, and then it gives us a series list of sequences, and we can notice that some of them are highlighted in blue. The ones that are highlighted in blue are the ones that are currently open here in the series. So, for example, if I take this field map and I click and drag it over to the first image, you'll notice that SpinEcho field map is now blue and 3D Head Scout NPR SAG is now grayed out. We have some tabs over here to we can click the series button to show or make our series list disappear. We have post-processing tools, which we don't really use too much in research applications. And then we have the MR View and Go tab. So, like, for example, if you don't like looking at 6 images, you can look at 4 or you can look at 20, whatever kind of is your preference. So you can readjust things. It will all go back to the default setting once you're finished anyway. So, a couple, we can look at like the MP range, for example, and we can scroll through using the wheel on the mouse, just like we would normally in the previous software. One really interesting thing is the way that the DICOM images are kind of packaged now. They're no longer kind of default packaged in the mosaic format that we are used to looking at. So, for example, here is a SpinEcho field map, which is composed, usually one DICOM image of 72 slices, right? Now, the way that they are packaging them is, instead of being in the kind of volume that we're used to, where you see all of the slices laid out in the mosaic, they're all stacked together. So it's now one image with 72 frames. We can look at it, and this goes for all EPI images. We can click down here on this mosaic button, and we can take a look at the SPREF or the bold image or whatever, diffusion, whatever image you want to look at, whatever type of EPI data you want to look at, and we can see it in the way that we're used to seeing it. So we can click on mosaic again, and it can stop. So I'm going to go ahead and come back to this bold resting state that's being collected. I'm going to hit stop, and we'll see that it will be loaded into the series view down here. So I'm going to go ahead and load this up, and now I will go ahead and do the same thing. So click on mosaic, and we notice that, it must not be reconstructed yet. Okay, hold please. Oh, that's the bold SPREF. All right, so we're waiting for the bold to reconstruct and show up in the series view. What else can we do from here? Well, let's go ahead and click over to the patient browser. So, never mind, here we go. Yay. All right, so our bold has reconstructed and is showing up here in the series. So if I go ahead and load the bold image into one of these panels, we can see again that it's in this stacked view. And so if we want to take a look at it in the mosaic volume-based view that we're used to, we can click on this mosaic button, and we'll see that we can now flip through the image, looking at the volumes like we're used to. As you can see, the images are going up from 1 to 67. All right. Okay, so now what happens if we let's go ahead and move to the patient browser as well, right? So the patient browser is the icon at the top. We talked about in the last video. Our application specialist said that it looked like a little person being hit with a tennis racket, which I found to be funny. So we click on the patient browser, and here we have the new version of the patient browser, right? So here we have a list of participants from oldest at the bottom to newest at the top. So here we have our VidOps participant with our study description. And when we click on a participant label, the series will appear based on the data that's in that participant folder. So here we have all of the images we've collected, and then if we click on a specific image, it will load down here in the instance view. This is just a kind of a snapshot. You can see kind of what the data looks like briefly. Now, one note about exporting data. So we have the auto routing set up, so data will be sending to DICOM automatically. Still, please check, right? Make sure all of your data arrives on DICOM appropriately. But if you need to send something, so let's say that it didn't send all the way, or you want to send it again, or you're going to send it to a different node, then you can click on the entire subject, or you can click on individual instances of data. So like, let's say you just want to send the MP range and the bold, you click export, and then this window will pop up. And here we have the 3 different nodes that we have set up. DICOM server 1 is the DICOM server. So this will be the one that you will most likely be sending the data to, right? So it's already selected, network, DICOM server 1. We click export, and it will start to send that data to DICOM. You can also export data to a file system such as like a flash drive. So I can click browse here, and I can click on my flash drive if I want, click OK. And if I'm doing this for research purposes, we want to make sure that our image conversion is enhanced, okay? Always enhanced DICOM images. If we are doing this for a participant, so for example, like we want to give them a folder with some of their brain images, we can click on Create DICOM File System and include Image Viewer. And that is sufficient for giving participants images to look at if that's something that your project does. Lastly, if we want to take data from the browser and take a look at it, like we already have our current participant data in the View and Go, but let's say we want more data or data from our previous subject, we want to take a look at it, we can click on another participant in the browser. We can click on the data we want to take a look at. So for example, let's say we want to take a look at this diffusion data. So we can click on it, and we can click View and Go. And we'll click View and Go, and a new window will open in the View and Go application. So, and again, we'll be able to scroll through our data. We can click on multiple instances. So, do we want to see the entire subject? We can click on just the entire subject, click View and Go, and then we were able to take a look at the data in the View and Go tab. When we want to close out of things, like when we want to close out of View and Go tab, because we're finished looking at this participant's data, or we're wrapping up with our own subject that we're scanning. You can't see it from this window, but there are these X's, kind of like on your browser, like your internet browser, your tabs on your browser. If you want to close them, you click X, the X at the top right, and this message will pop up. And so for data in View and Go, you will always get this prompt which says, "What do you want to do?" Now, we don't really make changes to the data. We're just looking at it, right? So, and data has already been sent to the DICOM server. So there's no need for us to save and send. If you do make a change to something, typically it's going to be used for that application, and most likely you won't need it in the DICOM server, but you could save and pause, and that will append any changes you've made to your series list. But if you didn't do anything and you're just looking at data, you can just click Discard Changes. So go and discard changes. Let's go back to our exam. To close out, let's say we're all done with our scan here. We want to close out of our participant. Again, we click on the X next on the top right of this tab, the VidOps tab, and that will bring up this prompt to close patient, close our patient. And this is the same as patient, close patient. So when we're all wrapped up, we want to close our patient. We exit out of the examination window. So click close patient. And same thing, we can close out of the view and go for our current participant. And now we're back to the regular exam view.